I love so much about the Richard and Judy Book Club, not least the fact that I was an author who had barely troubled the bestseller charts for 10 years until they took one of my books on. And then since then, every book I've had has been in the bestseller list. And I thank them every single time I bump into them at a book thing. They must be quite bored of me now, actually, just thanking them copiously and hanging off their trouser legs, yeah.
And people would come in and ask for the books that they were doing on their television programme, and they would say, I haven't read a book for years and years and years, but I really want this one. And I could immediately see that they were reaching a whole new audience.
I love that they search out great debuts, and it's just a brilliant way of discovering books that I might not have otherwise found.
Just as someone who earns a living as a writer and someone who's a passionate reader, I'm eternally grateful and thankful for Richard and Judy and their club for connecting readers with books, because it's not an easy thing to do.
They love reading, and they obviously have a proper response to a really wide range of books. They are enthusiastic and they want to bring them to a wider public, and what's not to like.
Like, if you're really stuck for what to read, and you go into WHSmith's, you can see these books and you know they're going to be really interesting, exciting reads.
When they say this book is good or that book is good, public will believe that and they will buy the books. And as authors, we need people to buy our books so badly, and they're so lovely, and they just have sort of created a marvellous platform for people to sell their books. I think they're brilliant. They're both adorable people, so the public love them, and so that's why they trust them.
And as a reader myself, I think there are a lot of books published, and some of them are good and some of them are less good, and it can be very difficult to know what to read. And I think what the Richard and Judy Book Club does is it just introduces, we all like a personal recommendation, and Richard and Judy feel like people that we can trust and that we can think if the book is on that list, it's not going to be bad.
When Apple Tree Yard was selected, what it meant is that it reached a whole readership that it would never otherwise have been selected for. And I'm not the kind of author who would normally get a huge readership, and it was a great joy to know that people were discovering me who wouldn't otherwise have discovered me.
Brings new books to the to the attention of people, books that you wouldn't necessarily have picked up. That they're a great sort of touchstone of quality. I would say that, of course, because they picked my book, but it is true. They have very, very good taste in books, and I will quite often pick up a book just because it's on their list.
And it's been going on for many years now, and that's an amazing thing for for authors, particularly for debut authors, I think. It's so difficult for a debut. For myself, I was a debut writer when I was chosen for Richard and Judy, and that changed everything for me.
What I loved about being in Richard and Judy was not just being pushed to a different level in terms of the sales, because sales are obviously important, but also being given that wonderful feedback that you get from being in the book club by the book being put in front of more people. And that was definitely the highlight for me, was just hearing from readers and hearing from many more readers than I had before.
In a very crowded field of a lot of books that come out each year, it picks on a few that people are likely to enjoy. And I think that's a great service, because it's quite hard to work out what you might want to read. And I've been very proud to have been included in the past. So I regard it as a kind of reader's accolade, if you like.
Not just with my second book, The Muse, but with my first book, The Miniaturist. Richard and Judy and the team got behind my book and my work, and truly that is actually something that I will always be grateful for. Any novelist would be grateful for the support and the enthusiasm and the attention to detail both of them give as readers. As a writer, the thing that you want most really when you've finished your work is readers, and WHSmith and Richard and Judy have made that happen for me, so I'm very grateful.
Well, for me, it's just been transformative to be in WHSmith and to be everywhere, and to be in a sort of boutique selection of books is just a sort of wonderful feeling, to feel that you've been selected and you've been chosen. And the cohort is such a wonderful other group of writers, so it's incredibly flattering and very pleasing.
I just think that they have a very sort of informal view of literature and books. They're not snobbish, and what they like in books is very, very other people would like too, I think. And they're serious about it, and I just think it's not for no reason it's been a great success.
That feeling that whatever books they recommend, I feel like I'm going to discover some great new writers with them. And it's just that cosy factor of knowing their book club choices are really similar. You feel like when you're hearing about their choices that you're kind of chatting with your own book club. So it feels kind of comfortable and also exciting because it's lovely to discover new authors through them.
They had a transformational effect on my career. And I think there's lots of things packed into that, but they seem to have incredibly good taste. They haven't really picked, as far as I can tell, a book that the public haven't really taken to justifiably. So it's been a wonderful thing, just for authors, obviously, but also for the reading public. Getting the public to read has to be a good thing.
I always used to hunt their titles down, and still do, because I know that I'm going to get a really good story. I know that I'll feel safe. I feel confident by those books because I know that they've been through a system where I'm going to get a really good quality story at the end of it.
You can love reading, but you get a special enjoyment, I think, from being able to talk about them to other people, to friends and family. And Richard and Judy are friends and family, and it's nice to get their recommendations, I think.
I think the Richard and Judy Book Club was just this great breakthrough to get people to talk about books in a social way rather than it being a kind of private pleasure. I mean, of course, it is a private pleasure, but the enthusiasm that readers have, it was an opportunity to share that. And you know, personally speaking, for me, I was my first book, Start of a 10, was in the very first Richard and Judy Book Club, and that was a massive breakthrough for me as a writer.
I always trusted their choices because, you know, they chose books that I wanted to read and that I really enjoyed. So to be chosen by them for my second novel is really astonishing. It's a huge privilege. I'm really delighted.